That's all right. I'm good.
If not, just watch the Frank meetings, you'll see him.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Amite River Basin Drainage and Water Conservation District monthly meeting. It's here today, Tuesday, in Ascension Parish at the Ascension Parish Council Chambers here in Gonzales. It's March 10th and it's 10 o'clock. And getting started here, I'd like to go ahead and start out with our Pledge of Allegiance. And if we could get Mr. Jim Falgout to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a little housekeeping. If you can silence your phones. Okay, Ms. Tony, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Mr. Bailey? Present. Mr. Clark?
Present.
Mr. Quintmall?
Present.
Mr. Delant?
Present.
Mr. Dufran?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Falgo? Ms. Polito? Here. Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Knotts?
Here.
Ms. Muse? Mr. Rayford?
Here.
Mr. Smith? All right, Mr. Lazina?
Here.
Mr. Knight? Mr. Kluot? All right, we have a quorum. Thank y'all.
Also to something new to our board, we have 3 new members that has been appointed through the governor's office. I would like to welcome them aboard, and number 1 is not in any sequence or priority to the sequence, but number 1 is Mr. Chris Knotts and Mr. James Falgout and Mr. Wade Evans. Thank you guys for your time, and we're looking forward to working with you all. Any public comments, please register with our clerk, Miss Tony. And we'll have time after each agenda item to provide public comments. So referring to our agenda, Commissioners, you had a chance to review your meeting minutes from our last meeting, our regular meeting on February 10th, 2028. February 10th, 2026. Lord have mercy. I got a motion by Commissioner Quintmall. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Bailey. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the minutes are approved as written. Next item is our financial statements. Ms. Tony, the financial statements, was these?
For the month of January.
These are for the month of January.
Correct.
So we're catching up. Mr. Bailey, looking good on our financial statements? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Bailey and second by Commissioner Quintmall. Any opposition? Any public comments? The financial statements are approved. Moving right along, our next item is a report by our ARBC Chief Advisor, Mr. Paul Sawyer. Paul.
Good morning, Commissioners. Wow, look at this. We have a full complement. First time I've ever seen that, so glad to work with y'all. Just briefly, some items to report. First and foremost, I'll defer some of this to our counsel, Mr. Bankston, but we are expecting to go to closing for the St. Helena property for which we've had a purchase agreement on. It's been a long time in coming. We've done a lot of due diligence. We've done a lot of work to get where we are, and the state has agreed to allow us to proceed forward so we could move to closing in the next week or so. So that's a project that this board set out to pursue 2 years ago when it sought capital outlay funding to do restoration work on the upper Amite River, and now it's beginning, and we do believe that once this transaction is completed, there will be others lined up to do the same. So more to report later. I've reported previously on the Natural Resource Conservation Service funding that we received through Congresswoman Julia Letlow. I met on the 23rd with NRCS at their headquarters in Alexandria, and they haven't received the funding yet. So this was a kickoff meeting where we wanted to just touch gloves and figure out what each party wanted to do. And so we will continue to flesh that out. One idea that we have proposed is following a very good example, a very successful example across the river in the Atchafalaya, or in between the river and the Atchafalaya and Point Capee, West Baton Rouge, and Iberville Parish, follows what's called the Upper Delta Conservation District model, where NRCS funded planning and design and then enabled additional and future funding for construction. So it's not for studies, it's for let's design what we're about to do and move into construction. This is for upper Amite restoration, and it's helpful for us to work with them because, as we've spoken about many times, when we acquire these properties, each property has a different profile, a different composition, so there will be no cookie cutter approach to everything that we acquire. We will have to look at each location and make a determination of how we're going to proceed. And so working with NRCS, we'll develop this toolbox on how to proceed based on certain conditions, and then also move into construction. And this also creates a pipeline for future funding through NRCS. So this is all preliminary, so I don't want to say, commissioners, this is the plan, but this is what we have talked about initially, particularly because NRCS has not received the funding yet. And then lastly, I would also suggest that they will defer to ARBC much more than we're accustomed to from other government and federal partners. So we will take on a larger leadership role working with a federal partner than we would normally do. With respect to the Comite River Diversion Canal, really the news remains similar. As I've stated previously, the last 5 contracts have been awarded. They are in various stages of mobilization, but every project within the alignment of the Comite River Diversion Canal is underway through either construction or mobilization. DOTD is still acquiring parcels at Brooks Lake. Remember, that's one of the bookends. One side, the outfall is Brooks Lake. The entry point is the diversion structure. So DOTD is acquiring more parcels at Brooks Lake, as well as areas along Cypress Bayou, Whites Bayou, and Baton Rouge Bayou, where a lot of clearing and snagging work is going on. Bridge structures, all the new bridges that were proposed to be built have been completed, going through various stages of punch lists, except for Highway 19, which is about 20% underway. But that project should be done by the end of the year or early next year. I've reported to you earlier about reconvening a meeting with the Corps of Engineers. We're tentatively scheduled for March 24th in New Orleans to meet with the Colonel and his team. And I will follow up with you individually for your priorities and topics of discussion that we want to elevate to the Colonel's attention. In terms of outreach, we spoke to the Military Officers Association, colonels and generals at all service branches, including the Corps of Engineers, all retired. It was a really worthwhile meeting. We did radio, too, to talk about Upper Amite restoration. Just closing out real quick. There are a number of items, legislative items, at the legislature this session that warrant our close attention. One is Senate Bill 367 by Senator Rick Edmonds. A similar companion to that is HB 802 by Representative McMakin. I've emailed you analyses of both bills, and I've printed them for your review as well. What both of these bills set up to do is to create a conservation fund in the state of Louisiana, funded through existing severance tax revenue. And it would position an entity like ARBC to receive funding on a regular and reliable basis. I can describe more of this if you have any questions, although I would say that the bills were just introduced, and I probably would like to talk this over with the respective authors, McMakin and Edmonds, to get a sense of where they intend to take the legislation and how ARBC can help guide that process. There are two other bills that warrant your attention. One is House Bill 899 by Representative Robbie Carter. To the extent that ARBC is interested and engaged on the first two bills, the Edmonds and McMakin bill, the second bill, HB 899 by Representative Carter, becomes relevant and important to us. And what it establishes is a brand new regulatory regime over sand and gravel mining in the state of Louisiana that does not currently exist. And so we've been talking to Department of Environmental Quality, Department of Conservation and Energy, as well as other agencies to get an understanding of that bill. And we will also be visiting with Representative Carter at an appropriate time to get a sense of his intentions and how we may participate in that process. Lastly, on another bill that is of interest to ARBC is House Bill 493 by Representative Carter, as well, Robbie Carter, and it would specifically eliminate ARBC's expropriation authority in 2 parishes, and we have not been contacted about the bill, so I couldn't elaborate on the bill's intention or its scope. But we'll talk to Representative Carter about this legislation as well to see how ARBC can be helpful in this process. ARBC does have interest in the legislative appropriations process. We're monitoring that as well. There may be legislation or actions that impact ARBC. We'll keep you updated on that, as well as capital outlay. ARBC continues to seek and receive capital outlay to support our Upper Amite restoration project. Lastly, actually, two very quick items. Last month, our executive secretary, Tony Guitro, reminded us that March is Flood Awareness Month. We passed a resolution in support of that. The governor has since proclaimed March to be Flood Awareness Month. City of Central has proclaimed March to be Flood Awareness Month. Ascension Parish has proclaimed March to be Flood Awareness Month, as well as the City of Gonzales. And so we're encouraging folks to be mindful of flood awareness and to take preparations now, prior to hurricane season. And actually, lastly, at the last meeting, we discussed as a council or as a commission the possibility of how this commission might spend the remaining dollars to implement our responsibilities for the Louisiana Watershed Initiative Regional Capacity Building Grant that we receive and that we use to administer the Region 9 Louisiana Watershed Initiative program. From that meeting, a proposal was made. We discussed it. That discussion was delegated to the projects committee, and we had further discussions about particularly flood forecasting, as well as storage of our immense data that we have collected while doing our master plan. And we're continuing to explore options. We met yesterday with Ascension Parish to learn about what Ascension Parish is doing with LSU in terms of forecasting and monitoring flood conditions. And we will continue to explore other options and report back to the projects committee as well as the full commission itself. And I think that concludes my report unless there are any other questions.
We have any questions? Commissioner Evans?
Thank you, Chairman. Paul, do we have, so we've been able to be very successful in achieving awards for grants because of our modeling and because of our ability to not just fill out numbers on a page, but show actual success with the projects. One of the things that I know, and it's not as bad for us, but as we get into the lower basin, when we have a south wind at 10 or 15 miles an hour for 2 or 3 days, I know my place down on the Chinquapin typically has water over the pier on the lower level. Have we considered how our modeling would look if we integrate the storm surge or the coastal stuff with the flow that comes from upriver, and how do we marry that? I think that's a critical component in our modeling. Mm-hmm. But also, I think the modeling is important because at a meeting I was at some time ago, I think the issue is if we do something in Livingston that hurts St. James, or if we do something in Ascension that hurts Livingston, the modeling is going to be very important for us to have. And so I think the expedience at which these models can be developed, implemented, and then provide data is important. Mm-hmm. Was that part of the discussions?
So yes, so first of all, what you point out, like a south wind, also a high tide, the master plan recognizes that those are dynamics that are unpredictable, but we have to monitor them because anything that we do, especially below I-12, where the elevation is basically flat, we have to be mindful of all of these dynamics that affect flooding. The two biggest things I think our master plan suggests, and I'm grossly overstating it, is that water comes down fast from the north, and the longer that we can hold it or slow it, it allows the lower part of the basin to drain. And the second half of that is, below I-12, generally speaking, it's a flat surface, and so you've got a lot to manage, a lot more to manage below I-12. So wind, tides, as well as maybe localized events that affect the rainfall. And so what our master plan says, at least, is that these are dynamics that are as best we can manage right now is in real time, and that we do need to get ahead of that. We have the ability, we have the data, and there is capability out there for us to get ahead of it in terms of flood forecasting and figure out what these conditions are, whether it's a wind or a tide, and how that integrates with where the water's coming from. And the further out that we can manage that, or the further out that we can observe that, we can communicate that to the public, parish governments, local governments, first responders can act accordingly before the event. And so, yes, the master planning speaks to it, but that's a work in progress. That's something that we have to tackle. We're trying to tackle that through the RCBG, the Regional Capacity Building funding opportunity that we have available to us, and try to develop that toolkit so that we are ahead of it, and not just first responders, but hopefully eventually citizens as well, that the entire community in the basin has the ability to prepare for and react to in the best possible way out there.
Well, so in Central, we have early flows, and it's a wonderful product, and it doesn't prevent flooding, but it does give awareness to those who are concerned with repetitive loss situations. And I can think of many instances in the lower basin where if we had a product that would showcase to the people, look, if this wind stays at 5 from the south or southeast, and we get this much rain, this is what it'll look like. And so they can then be monitoring and prepare for that. I think that's an important component. Look, another thing that I think we owe to the citizens, we can't control FEMA or FEMA 2.0 or their rates, but we can do everything in our power legislatively and to push for legislation in our respective communities that can help reduce what the maximum rate for FEMA 2.0 is. I'm a little frustrated with how it's done right now, because FEMA let us know that we got down to a 5 and our citizens would be receiving a 25% discount, but that really doesn't apply until they hit maximum rate, which will come, I guess, in the next couple of years. But I think the CRS rating is such an important component because it saves our taxpayers millions of dollars in what they're paying. And so everything we do should always go towards what's the best thing for the taxpayers. I can tell you, working through the federal process, and you're very well aware of this, Paul, you were up there for years, it's very dilatory, and the processes are very ridiculous. And so we as a commission should do everything in our power to mitigate the negative impacts of not only flooding, but the cost associated with insuring against those floods. Mm-hmm. So I think with a model, I know it plays a big component in the rating as well as legislation and everything else. So I think we need to take that holistic approach, but we don't need to wait around to get it done. So if we have the ability to marry that data, I think we need to move quicker than slower.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Sawyer? Any discussion? Some good discussion here and some good points. I'm just going to go back to the severance tax and the bill that's introduced, and perhaps for the conservation fund. So the severance tax is currently being collected now?
Yes, sir. There is currently a sand and gravel severance that has been collected, and it goes into the general fund.
To the general fund?
Correct.
General fund means general?
Means everything.
Okay. So this bill would maybe kind of tailor it to perhaps an intended purpose that's not so general, that may be to the nature of where it might have been generated from?
Sure. And the way the authors envision this is that the mining activity has an impact on the hydraulics and hydrology of not just the Amite River, but other rivers and other streams and water bodies where that activity takes place. And so what the authors believe is that taking the existing funds and applying those to a particular purpose, in this case conservation of the areas where this activity is taking place. It's just an elegant cycle, if you will, because the activity that impacts the behavior of the water will start contributing towards the restoration and the mitigation of that activity. And that also happens to be exactly where ARBC is right now in its Upper Amite Restoration Project.
Thank you. One more question. House Bill 899, this introduced by Representative Carter. Does that create another layer of regulatory authority over the sand and gravel business?
Yes, it does. It creates another layer of regulation where absolutely none exists right now. And it's uncertain if it.
Wait, are you sure none exists? I mean, DNR regulates it to a certain degree, DEQ regulates it to a certain degree.
Sure. So DEQ will regulate that activity in terms of how it impacts water quality. Department of Wildlife and Fisheries will regulate that activity to the extent that it affects a scenic river. So there are agencies right now that have existing roles in that activity, but they're all very specific: water quality, habitat, mineral extraction. Right now, or excuse me, what's proposed in HB 899 is creating a whole new regulatory environment. What's required, how soon it's required, follow up, very prescriptive measures on how this activity is regulated. I'll also point out that parish governments have a role as well. So not just state governments, but parish governments have a role as well. So this is not to say that there are not currently regulatory actions that manage this kind of activity, but rather HB 899 creates a whole brand new layer of regulatory authority where none exists right now.
So that was my question. And I think the answer was yes. It does create another layer of regulatory authority over this. So it's going to be pretty hard to kind of conduct sand and gravel mining business.
And restoration.
Also left out the Army Corps of Engineers.
And the Corps, that's right.
With wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda here today at the ARBC meeting is a report by our ARBC legal counsel, Mr. Larry Bankston. Larry? Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you are aware, our major issue was this property acquisition in St. Helena Parish. We went through several amendments in order to extend the time, and we were extended the time till February the 28th. We were anticipating maybe even having to get another extension, waiting on the state to provide its comments and approval. After going back and forth over a number of issues concerning the language in the act of sale, as well as reviewing of the appraisal, as well as review of the environmental, the state, right before the 28th, agreed to and approved our project. That project resulted in a payment by the state of $525,000, which we have received for this particular project. Also, there are some expenses that we can seek for a reimbursement after the actual purchase. Because this piece of property is owned by 4 individuals, and we wanted to get this resolution in place to provide to the title attorney to confirm his agreement with it. He's reviewed this and approved. Upon this resolution being passed, it authorizes John Clark or Jack Harris to execute any of the necessary documents in order for the act of sale. It also allows, recognizes that the board has a 25% cash contribution as required by state law. So that particular item, we're anticipating after this is passed today that sometime next week we will coordinate with the seller, the seller's attorney, as well as Mr. Clark or Mr. Harris's schedule in order to get this purchase agreement, this act of sale done, and we will then be the owners of that piece of property. That's the main issue that we have been working on, and we're right at the 5-yard line.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I had a question, Mr. Basin, particular on mineral rights and surface rights on this. Is that cleared up in the act of sale?
Yes, sir. We have both. We have surface rights, of course.
Okay,
And we also have the minerals, yes, sir.
all right, thank you.
So, yes, this is a great thing. Like Larry said, we're right on the 1-yard line to just walk it over and make a touchdown with this property. It's been a long time coming. It's an exercise. Hopefully, we'll have future opportunities to be in a position to be able to purchase these sites like this where we can restore them and address these unstabilized areas in the upper Amite River that's contributing to sediment down in the lower Amite and help sustain the projects that we do on the lower Amite. Larry, you mentioned that we got to pay 25% cash. There is some in-kind that is that qualifies. We did a lot of due diligence work on the front end. And am I correct? Do we get reimbursed for that?
That's after, we have to submit a list of all the different expenditures, the environmental, the appraisal, all those items are subject to being approved and reviewed by the division. Paul is working on those and waiting for final bills on everything once we get the actual sale.
Paul, can you comment on that?
Yeah, and we've pretty much, through Tony's help, thank you, we've collated almost all of the expenses, and we're ready to submit them for reimbursement, although there may be some additional costs that we incur at closing. And state facility planning has told us that there's no rush on this. You know, it doesn't affect the transaction. But obviously, you know, we want to be reimbursed as quickly as possible. Second thing I'll add to that is that it's premature to really discuss, but I want to put it on your radar that the federal funds that we are receiving through Congresswoman Letlow could potentially serve as a match because it's non-state money, so it could serve as a match. And so we've already talked to NRCS, which, by the way, also has a matching requirement, that these state funds satisfy their match. They seem okay with that. And so we're having discussions with the state about allowing those federal dollars, when they become available, to serve as our match. Long and short is that ARBC hopefully will be out very minimal dollars if this works out correctly.
That's what I was getting. That's basically what I was getting at is, you know, we have to be creative. And I think that's what we're doing is being creative. And, you know, within the letter of the law, you know, we may also be able to quantify some of my time, some of the board's time, every time we meet and talk about it. I mean, that's an effort put forth, you know, so I'm all about trying to save us money to put us in a position where we can be better off and maybe get more down the road. Commissioner Quintmore?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank everybody who was involved in this little project here. It's been a team effort, and we've jumped through quite a few hoops and hurdles to get here. So I want to thank everybody for all their due diligence and you know, work towards making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Camo. Any other comments? All right. Referring back to our meeting agenda, under number 9 is old business. And as we mentioned earlier by Mr. Bankston, is a resolution 1199. It's for the Upper Amite River Restoration Project. Grants authority to pay local match and to authorize myself or Jack Harris to execute cash sale and associated documents. And that is an action item, and I'll entertain a motion for that.
Mr. President. That motion.
I'm sorry, any public comments? No public comments?
Mr. President.
Yes.
I would like to make the motion.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second.
Okay.
Do we need a roll call? Okay, any opposition to this
I would like a
resolution?
point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
So the agenda says Mr. Sawyer, and the resolution says you and the Vice President. So I just want to kind of.
That was a typo in the agenda.
But I just want it on the record that it's, clarifying,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's
So,
no
let
issue.
the record reflect that that was a typo in the meeting agenda, that the resolution does in fact represent the true intent.
Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, any opposition to this resolution? Hearing none, resolution is adopted. All right, next item under old business is a report by our ARBC contractor, that is the Water Institute. And they provide services for us under the Louisiana Watershed Initiative for Region 9, which is the Amite River Basin. And they serve as our coordinator for Louisiana Watershed Initiative, and that's Mr. Garvin Pittman.
Thank you,
Garvin.
President Clark. I'll be brief today. There were no meetings of the Louisiana Watershed Initiative for this past month. As far as projects in the region that are funded by LWI, there are 24 total. 3 are in the construction phase, 16 design, and 5 application. You should have that list in front of you, but the big movers for the month were the Memorial Sports Complex Safe Room and EBR. They drove down $16,000. The Airline Highway Park Recreation Center Safe Room, which drew down $3,000. And a couple of projects which did not draw down any money, but it looks like they had some significant movement with the Ascension Parish New River project. Looks like the H&H model. The parish responded to comments from DOTD, and those comments are now under review by DOTD. Also, the EBR Bayou Manchac Sediment Removal and Ward Creek Realignment Project. It looks as though the Pontchartrain Leslie District model has been submitted to DOTD for review for that project. And upcoming in the next month, again, probably a relatively light month for the watershed coordinator, since the ARBC master plan has been submitted, is that regional capacity building grant quarterly report and pay requests will be due at about this time next month. And I'll take any questions you may have. Yes, Commissioner Quintmall.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, and I'm going to get my capital projects director, Ron Savoy, to give you some updates, because we have some updates on some of the other projects that are not reflected in the report. So we'll get those over to you.
Okay, thank you.
I think it would be nice at some point, whether we reach out to the applicants through the Watershed Initiative to, get more updates on where they're at. Because when I look at all these projects, it looks really good, but what doesn't look good is the progress that's being made. And I understand different entities, municipalities have different capacities and stuff, but we got $353 million from the Louisiana Watershed Initiative, and there's only $30 million that's been spent. So, Commissioner Quintmall?
So I focus a lot on projects. This is just the one thing and one of the main reasons why I ran for parish president. And when I tell you, and this is for the public consumption, because the people in this room know this, when I tell you it is the most bureaucratic thing to get a project just started. And one specifically I was referring to in here, Garvin, was the Sorrento pump station expansion. We've had that design done for years. We can't get FEMA approval to go out for bid. And when I tell you this thing has been ready to go for years, and it is a struggle at the different levels of government higher than the local levels to get these projects going. And I don't think the public understands that. And we fight the battle every day. We go to the Corps monthly. We go to the state monthly. And it's a struggle. I'm telling you, the system is built to slow these things down. And that's a fact. That is just a fact. And so, yes, it's disheartening. It's troubling that we have this kind of money, that we could provide these kind of solutions to protect the residents of our parishes, and we go to work every day to fight the system in order to do it. So, yeah, it is disappointing. That's my comment. Thank you.
And I'm sure you're aware that construction prices inflate higher than normal inflation each year, so any delay costs money.
I can appreciate that, Commissioner Quintmall, and that is exactly why I made the comment that I made, was to catalyze a reaction among us, to point it out that we have all these great, wonderful projects, but it is tough between the Hydra H&H study, the phase 1, the phase 2. I mean, it just goes on and on and on before you can even turn any dirt. It's despicable, and something's got to change with this process. Commissioner Evans?
Yeah, I would like to piggyback on Commissioner Quintmont's statement. I've received nearly $70 million that's not on this list and can't seem to get anywhere. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars going through the process of filing the paperwork and managing the submittals and managing the awards to get nowhere. I mean, and not knocking my engineers, but I can tell you it feels like the bureaucrats just drag their feet. And I brought it up yesterday to some of our state delegation. I think we, as a commission, carry a lot of weight if we stick together, and I think we have to lobby for this. But there must be large-scale change. And one of the options is look at our success, respectively, on delivering projects and give us a better grade to where we can bypass some of this monotony. Look, the process in itself is hard enough, the NEPA guidelines that you have to go through. And then, God forbid, there be some special turtle that you can't mess with. I mean, Fred knows we lost a good portion of an improvement on Blackwater Bayou because of a turtle, and it's ridiculous. I mean, I joke with the Corps and the feds now and tell them we've already pulled the arrowheads out of all the creeks when I was a kid. So don't waste your time. We know there was Indians here at some point. I mean, let's move on. But I think if we all, as a group, were to go and lobby, I think we would have a better chance than fighting individually, because we know the big industry matters, but those guys up there operate off of votes from the people that are most impacted by their inefficient way of doing things. So I thank you, Commissioner, for bringing that up. But yeah, it's a mess.
I have a comment too as well.
Go ahead.
Just kind of want to put my 2 cents in as well, dealing with these projects, especially in a rural area where we have limited resources. And, you know, it's like the engineers on the state side is over-engineering the projects. We've done H&H studies over and over and over and over and over again and can't get nothing moving. So we already had to deal with the Office of Community Development, which this process is under, which brings another challenge with all the guidelines and HUD and things that you have to have in place. And so I agree, we really need to stick together and lobby and see how we can bring some of these projects that we know are beneficial to our residents to fruition, because right now, I just hate to be in a meeting to talk about another meeting. I want to check a box, and I haven't been able to do that either. And I have right at $9 million project in St. Helena Parish, which I don't think we've ever been in a position to get a project done at that cost. And so I just want to make it happen. So I agree with everyone.
You know, like what we're talking about here right now, this is a good, healthy discussion. Some things are so apparent. Just like this Saturday, it rained all night long. If you look at social media now, Lord, but it's out there and it happens. Everybody's flooding, and it's unbelievable, all of the flooding. So it's not like things are not being done. Getting a grant for a project is easy. The magic is getting it from concept to completion, and all of those steps in between. That's the big difference. And it's bureaucracy. And we're trying to protect life and property, and it's a darn shame. And credibility's on the line, and it's the people that are local, that represent the local people, their credibility's on the line, because it looks like they're not doing nothing. Commissioner Quintmo?
So I don't really like bringing up a problem without providing a solution. So I do want to state one, that's a possibility. And again, this will take an act of Congress, which has its own time frame. But we need to see if we can create a federal government agency that delivers money to the state, where the state regulates the project, not the feds. That is the key component. OCD, that handles most of our projects, is only following the federal guidelines, so it just ends up delaying the process. I have mentioned this to our federal delegation several times, but I really think we need to make a major push to get our drainage-funded projects and other projects into where the state can regulate it. And President Delat has brought this up many times. There's nobody in this state for us to go visit with FEMA. We don't have an office here. We have to go to Texas, and that's a problem. At least we can go to Baton Rouge with OCD and DOTD and others and discuss our issues with them face-to-face and really have a sit-down one-on-one. But there's nobody in the federal government for us to go meet in this state. We don't have a local office, and that's a problem. And we have brought this up at our PPOL meetings. But again, the frustration is nothing happens, no movement happens. Even though we have these conversations and we talk about these problems, there's nothing that's even being proposed at the federal level to help eliminate these issues. So I didn't want to just complain. I wanted to bring a solution, a possible solution to the table. And maybe that's us passing a resolution and getting with our other organizations like the Police Jury Association and the PPOL, and let's see if we can make a massive push for change. And I think we could start right here at ARBC by passing a resolution to do something like that. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Commissioner Rayford?
You know, nobody likes to complain. I mean, because especially when you're dealing with government, that's real funny. But in reality, you know, from the city's aspect, 2016, I remember it very clearly, and we were very appreciative of the funds that we were able to pick up to try to address some of the continued flooding issues that we've had in our parish. The problem is that waiting on FEMA to do the approvals, and as of 2016, I don't have one project yet that's been approved through the process with FEMA. FEMA doesn't even exist, I mean, in the real world, and that's part of the problem. I think that's what President Clinton is making reference to. But to me, I mean, it's how do you explain that to the person who sits there and says, we have the funds, we're ready to move through the process, and we're moving through that, but you can't get an answer because either they're not existing anymore or they don't know where the funding is going to be anymore. I mean, or there's no budget for this situation, and we're sitting there trying to explain to people who got a foot of water in their homes because of a flood event, and we can't get a project that would be the biggest benefit to addressing that. It's frustrating. Trust me, I'm tired of having to go to meetings and have people say, why, you talked about this in 16. I said, yeah, and we're still talking. But it's trying to push what needs to be done from a project standpoint. And me personally, I'm all about it, and I have made my comments to a variety of the legislators and also to some congressional delegation, because something has to change, or we're going to still be where we are 5 more years from now, because I don't see things getting any better. I really don't. And to me, that's very frustrating. And people, that's our tax dollars. And I want to protect the people not only in our parish, because the projects that we're doing under this watershed impact everybody sitting at this table. I mean, we have to be sure and mindful of that we're doing the right project for the right reason, and it's not creating a problem upstream or downstream. And I like the fact that we have that situation, which is very unique, but when you can't get the money to go move forward a project that needs to be approved, I just sometimes you wonder why you sit at a committee and be in a commission, because all they're going to do is just the public just going to jump on you like you wouldn't believe. And you're right. Sunday night or Sunday morning, we had a lot of rain. Saturday, Sunday morning, we had a lot of rain. I had people who had flooded before, got flooded again. And there were some of the projects that we want to be able to try to address, and I can't get approval through FEMA to do what needs to be done. I've said what I need to say. Thank you.
Mr. Rayford, you know my sister-in-law, their house flooded again Sunday morning.
Yeah. I haven't heard, but there's plenty of places that I rove Sunday morning to look at it, that's for sure.
I'll tell you, it's a shame. Commissioner Evans.
I just had somewhat of a point of order or question. Do you have the authority to request a resolution be drafted for our next meeting? Because I think we need to take this serious and approach every elected leader who will listen and get more forceful with this.
So, all right. What we're talking about here is what Commissioner Quintmall from Ascension Parish has brought up, which sounds like a outstanding idea. Randy, Livingston, you have to deal with it, right? The bureaucracy and the process just to get something done in your area on the ground. If we can agree here, Commissioner Evans, Commissioner Quintmall.
Yeah, what I would suggest is let's build the template of the resolution. Let's get that over to the Police Jury Association, let's get that over to Parish Presidents Association so they can look at it and add to it, so that we don't approve something and then it gets to them and they say, well, we'd like to make amendments to it. Let's get it through the organization. I would be hard pressed to say that we won't find support there, right? Because they're all having the same issues that we're having. So let's build that template. Let's see what interest we can get from the other organizations. And then when we pass that resolution, we have input from those organizations we're going to need to go ahead and push it to the federal level.
Commissioner DeLotte.
That's a Palate's organization too, so.
Ellie Mae.
Commissioner Dufresne, St. James.
And, just to kind of end the discussion on a positive note, I did receive in hand this morning my permit from the Corps of Engineers for our Connector Levee project. About 5 years in, so there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Congratulations.
It kind of helps.
You had to bring that up.
I'm just saying.
It kind of helps when it's their project too, you know, part of their project, right?
Well, this part wasn't there, so anyway, this was, yeah.
Well, good deal. Look, I mean, so far, you've heard from Ascension Parish, you've heard from the City of Central, you've heard from Livingston Parish, you've heard from EBR, you've heard from St. Helena, you've heard from St. James Parish. All of these concerns that we have that something needs to be done, we're on the ground. We're not at 30,000 foot. We can't run, we can't hide. We have a sense of urgency and we really want to do something. Here we are, it's 2026. This is 10 years after the Great Flood. 10 years. Are we any better? So, amen. I think that's a great idea. Let's see what we can do to circumvent bureaucracy and do what we can do to spend this money and turn some dirt to where we can make a difference. All right, any more discussion? Thank you, Garvin, for triggering that healthy discussion here.
Thank you, President
Thank you.
Clark. Thank you, Board.
All right, next item, moving right along on our agenda, under new business, we have no new business. I think we had some good business here today. That's new. Not necessarily new, but good, healthy discussions. We have a full board. And earlier, before the meeting, I'd asked, do we have any public comments to register? If we have any public comments, we encourage the public to speak. Come up and share your ideas and tell us things that we may be able to do to improve the process, improve the system, and how we can better serve the people. We must be doing a good job. All right, hearing no public comments, I'll entertain, first of all, our next meeting is going to be April 14th, and it's going to be in Livingston Parish at Council Chambers in Livingston Parish. It'll be 10 o'clock, April 14th, in Livingston Parish is our next meeting. And that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Evans, second by Schmidt. Hearing no opposition, thank you.